You open your eyes at 6:14 a.m. No alarm dragged you out of sleep. Your body just decided it was time. You walk to the kitchen, make the coffee, and settle into the chair by the window, the one that faces the street before the street wakes up. Your phone hums once on the table. You flip it over. $59 deposited. Not from your job. Not from picking up extra hours. Not from answering emails at 11 p.m. From owning something. From a decision you made years ago. You set the phone back down and watch the steam curl off your mug. You think about the version of you from 5 years ago. The one who set 3 alarms because one was never enough. The one who felt a small, specific dread every Sunday evening. The one who genuinely didn't believe mornings like this one were available to someone like him. You didn't get rich. You just hit a number, a very particular number. The one where what you own starts paying for what you need and your hours become yours again. 2 years of saying no to things. No to the new phone when the old one still worked. No to the car upgrade when the current one still started. No to Friday nights. And one morning, you looked at your account and the number was $10,000 sitting completely still. Doing absolutely nothing. Most people would spend it on things like a vacation, a watch, or a couch they could easily live without. And honestly, you understood the impulse. You opened your brokerage app instead. You bought a dividend ETF, something deliberately dull, a stock symbol most of your friends have never heard of. At a 4% yield, that $10,000 would pay you $400 a year. $400. 12 months of Netflix, Spotify, and your phone bill. All of it, covered. You knew it was small. You were ready for the voice in your head that wanted to laugh at how small it was. You didn't let it. Because here was the thing that hit you quietly while you were doing the math. That $400 was different from every other dollar you had ever made. Every previous dollar had a cost. It cost you a morning, an afternoon, an hour in traffic, an hour pretending to be engaged in a meeting you did not need to be in. Every dollar before this one was rented from your life. These $400 cost you nothing. You slept. The money showed up anyway. Your coworker caught a glimpse of the ETF ticker on your screen one afternoon at lunch. He laughed. $400 a year, bro? That's literally one dinner out. You didn't argue. You closed your laptop. That same week, he spent his $400 on a watch. A nice one. The kind he'd trade in within the year for something newer. You clicked reinvest. You watched the share count tick up by an amount so small it was almost insulting. You smiled at your phone in a way you hadn't smiled at it in months. Nobody saw it. Nobody needed to. You weren't playing the same game as everyone else anymore. You were building the board. 3 years had passed. The boring ETF sat at $50,000, most of it from your paycheck, the rest from dividends you had never once allowed yourself to spend. Annual payout, $2,000. Every dollar of your electric bill for an entire year. Your internet, your streaming, a long weekend somewhere warm with money left over. You did the arithmetic one Sunday morning at the kitchen table with coffee going cold beside you. You realized something that stopped you mid-sip. Every time you flipped a light switch this year, every time you opened the refrigerator, your shares were covering it. Every time you plugged in your phone at night, someone else was technically paying for the electricity. Not your boss, not your overtime, your shares. You told no one. That weekend, your sister got engaged. The whole family crowded into a steakhouse, the good kind, white tablecloths, and a wine list the size of a magazine. Your cousin ordered a bottle that cost more than your dividend had generated that entire month. He stood up and announced, with the particular pride of someone who needs the room to know, that he had just signed a lease on a new BMW. You ordered water, you ate your steak, you smiled at all the right moments. On the drive home, your girlfriend reached over and touched your arm. "You've been quiet," she said. "Is everything okay?" "Just thinking," you told her. You didn't tell her about the $900 a month lease your cousin just signed. You didn't do the math out loud. $11,000 a year, gone, for the feeling of newness. You didn't mention that your $50,000 would quietly deposit $2,000 into your account this year and next year and the year after that without your cousin or anyone else at that table knowing it existed. You just held her hand at the red light. And somewhere underneath the ordinary surface of that drive home, you felt something settle in your chest. 6 figures. The number your father spoke about like a destination. The number your high school brain had decided was the threshold where everything changes. It doesn't change everything. It pays you $4,000 a year. Every grocery run for the next 12 months. Every carton of eggs. Every bag of coffee. Every rotisserie chicken on a tired Wednesday night. Paid for by money you didn't earn with your hands or your hours. You thought about this walking through Whole Foods on a Saturday, cart half full, and you laughed. Actually laughed, quietly enough that only the woman examining a cantaloupe nearby might have noticed. She didn't look up. She had no idea. Then Nick texted. Nick from college. Nick who always had a hot take, a tip, an angle. Bro, found something insane. 12% yield, pays monthly. On 100 grand, that's $12,000 a year. You'd literally triple your dividend. You pulled up the chart. The yield was real. The chart was a horror show. The stock had bled 40% of its value over 2 years. This is a yield trap. The dividend was being paid out of a company that was quietly coming apart at the seams. This is what they call a yield trap. The high number isn't a reward, it's a flare. You closed the laptop. You texted Nick back. 2 sentences. Careful, not condescending. Be careful with this one. The yield is high because the stock is in trouble. He sent back a laughing emoji. He bought $10,000 worth that same night. 6 months later, the dividend was cut in half. The stock shed another 30%. Nick went quiet on the subject entirely, the way people go quiet about things they'd rather not revisit. You kept your boring ETF. You kept your $4,000. You kept walking through Whole Foods on Saturdays. The rule at 6 figures is not complicated. If the yield looks too good to be real, it's because it isn't. 12% is not an opportunity disguised as a number. 12% is not an opportunity. 12% is a warning. The patient 4% will outlast every shiny 12 every time. You are 35, $250,000. The number nobody at your office knows you're carrying. Annual payout, $10,000, $10,000. Your car payment, your insurance, every tank of gas you'll pump in an entire year, all of it covered by money that doesn't ask anything of you in return. You understood this on a Tuesday in March, sitting in gridlock on the way to work. The man in the lane beside you was shouting at his phone, jaw tight, a vein visible in his neck. His car was a brand new Tesla, pristine, not a scratch on it. His face, though, his face looked exhausted in a way the car couldn't fix. You were driving a 2023 Toyota, paid off 3 years ago. The Bluetooth worked, the seats were fine, the car owed you nothing. No monthly obligation, no background anxiety, no slow financial bleed. His car was collecting $800 from him every month for the next 4 years. Your portfolio had just deposited money into your account. You thought about something your mother told you when you were 16, something you'd filed away without really hearing it. The wealthiest people I know drive the plainest cars. You hadn't understood it then. Sitting in that traffic, watching that man shout, you understood it completely. You pulled into your driveway that night and sat in the car for a moment before going inside. Not because anything was wrong, just because you weren't in a hurry. You hadn't been in a hurry for a long time and you wanted to notice that briefly before the evening started. You are 38, $500,000. This is the number that changes how you sleep. Annual payout, $20,000, $20,000. Rent in most American cities, or a mortgage paid off in most American towns. Groceries, utilities, internet. This is the 4% rule. Financial planners have built retirement projections around it for 30 years. At $500,000 invested, you could walk away from your job tomorrow morning and not find yourself in trouble. Not wealthy, not traveling first class, but stable, unchased. You realize this on a Friday afternoon at 3:38. Your boss appeared in your doorway, visibly stressed, asking if you could stay late. You used to answer before he finished the sentence. This time, you waited. 3 full seconds of silence, which is longer than it sounds when someone is waiting for an answer. You felt something new in those 3 seconds. Not defiance. Something quieter than that. Optional. You said yes anyway, but it was a different yes than you'd ever given before. It was a yes that lived inside a choice rather than a reflex. You felt the difference in your chest. You walked to your car at 9 that night. Empty parking lot, orange lights, the specific quiet of a building after everyone else has gone home. You sat in the driver's seat for a moment before turning the key. You thought about the 26-year-old who had opened a brokerage app for the first time, who had gotten laughed at over a $400 annual dividend, who had clicked reinvest alone in a room and smiled at his phone. That coworker who laughed was still here. Leased SUV, second mortgage, a vague monthly tension about where the money goes. You drive home, eat leftovers, and go to bed at 11. You didn't check your dividend account before sleeping. You didn't need to. The math was doing what the math does whether you watched it or not. $500,000 doesn't hand you freedom, but it gives you something that turns out to be more useful than freedom in most everyday situations. It gives you the word no, and no, it turns out, is the most expensive word in the English language. Most people spend their whole lives unable to afford it. You are 41. $1 million. You don't feel different. The apartment looks the same. The car is the same. The face in the bathroom mirror is the same face. A little more weathered, a little more settled, but the same face. The number, however, is real. Annual payout, $40,000. $40,000. A full American salary generated every year, permanently. One Tuesday evening, you do something you haven't done in 15 years. You open a tax calculator. You type in $40,000. Qualified dividends, single filer, tax year 2026. You hit enter. The figure that comes back is $0. You read it twice. Then you look it up because a number that clean deserves verification. It's real. Under $50,000 in qualified dividend income, the federal government collects nothing. Your friends with salaried jobs lose a third of every paycheck before it ever touches their accounts. This $40,000, all of it, is yours. You lean back in your chair. You don't pop a bottle. You don't call anyone. You just sit in the specific silence of a Tuesday night and let the number be real. You think about the years of overtime, the years of trading hours for taxable dollars that evaporated by a third before they landed. This is different. This is the opposite architecture. The next morning, you go to work. Your boss runs through quarterly goals. You take notes, you contribute, you participate. Nobody knows. Nobody knows that the woman at the desk beside you, same salary, same title, same hours, will retire with $800,000 less than you will. Not because she worked less, because 15 years ago, you made one decision and never broke it. You walk to lunch alone, you sit on a bench in the sun, you eat a sandwich from home. $1 million doesn't buy a yacht. $1 million buys the kind of silence where you can sit at a kitchen table on a Tuesday night and realize, with total calm, that you don't need permission from anyone anymore. Not your employer, not the tax code, not the frightened version of yourself who set 3 alarms because one was never enough. You are 44, $1.5 million annual payout, $60,000. $60,000. What the average American retiree actually spends every year, replaced in full, without selling a single share. The principal stays. The dividend keeps arriving. The machine runs itself. You read a headline that morning over coffee. Northwestern Mutual 2026 Planning Study. Americans say they need $1.46 million to retire comfortably. You read the number twice. You already have more. Outside the window, the street is doing what streets do at this hour. Cars pushing through intersections. People running late. The specific posture of people who are somewhere they have to be. You used to be one of them. You remember the feeling exactly. You walk to your desk. You open your laptop. You write one email. Short, Professional. Final. You tell your boss you're done. You hit send. You wait for the anxiety to arrive. It doesn't come. What comes instead is a feeling you recognize. The same feeling from 15 years ago, on a Tuesday morning, when $59 appeared in your account while you were sleeping. The number that Americans say they need to retire? You crossed it. And it came down to exactly one decision, made at 26, never reversed. Be patient. While everyone around you was spending money to feel wealthy, you were teaching money to work. While they traded their hours for dollars, you were building something that didn't need your hours at all. Now you wake up at 6:14 without an alarm. You make coffee, you sit by the window, and every morning, every single one is yours.